We're going to be having a longer conversation on Wednesday where we'll really kind of get into moonshot thinking and talk a little bit more. But as our entrepreneurship chair, I just wanted to kind of ask you to kind of maybe set the stage and tell us a little bit about the lay of the land and what's happening in the world of entrepreneurship.
There has never been a better time to be alive. And the only one way to know you are alive is when you have a heartbeat. How does a heartbeat look like? It goes up and down, and when it's smooth, you're dead. So if you're all here looking for a smooth life, you're already dead, right? That ups and down tells you that you're alive, so embrace it, right? How do you go out and create that thought process where you are constantly learning? So as a teacher, as a manager, as a leader, you never want to be in a place where you're taking people to the water and making them drink. Your job is to make them thirsty so they will find their own water and they will drink. As an entrepreneur, all we have to do is to not look at the world as is, but really look at the world what it can be, because we can create any future we want if we can imagine it. And our job is to not just imagine it, live in that world so vividly that people think you're absolutely hallucinating. And when they ask you what you're working on, and they don't tell you you're crazy, you're not thinking big enough. So dream so big that people think you're absolutely crazy, and they don't think you're crazy, dream even bigger.
Bravo, bravo. So Naveen is a serial entrepreneur and has time after time built big businesses and really, always from the onset, I think thought about how you go about building, or that he always had this goal to build Moonshot. So maybe you can share with us, how do you come up with your ideas? How do you decide that you're going to go and tackle such a big problem? And then, what is the execution plan? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, so first thing you always do is ask yourself, God forbid, if I'm actually successful in doing what I'm trying to do, is it going to help 1 billion people live a better life? If the answer is no, it's not worth dedicating your life to it. So find something that you know is going to move the needle. The second thing you have to ask yourself is, are you passionate about something you're trying to do? And if the answer is yes, you are a goddamn loser. Right? Because passion is for losers. The winners have obsession. Unless you're so obsessed with it that you can't sleep, you can't wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, that's what you want to do. Find something you're willing to die for and then live for it. And for me, my calling was, I was obsessed about watching people suffer from chronic diseases. And about 3 years ago, I decided that, if I'm going to dedicate the next 10 years of my life to something, what if we can create a world where being sick is purely a matter of choice? That was a crazy idea. And then I start to study what causes people to have chronic diseases. We are not born with them. Then how do we get them? It turns out what I learned was amazing. That we as humans are so proud of who we are. What we forgot was there were 40 trillion organisms living inside us. They make us who we are. And that's where it came down to was once you start to understand that all the chronic diseases begin in your gut. And then I realized, oh my God, if everyone knows that, then why is the problem not getting solved? And it occurred to me as an entrepreneur, they were asking the wrong question. Every one of them was focused on trying to find out what organisms are in your gut. And the right question to ask was, what are they actually doing? And just that change of thought process got me down the path to understand, is it possible to understand what is going on inside the gut, what these organisms are producing? I found the technology at Los Alamos National Lab. They spent $2 billion developing that technology for the biodefense work. Managed to convince them that this is a technology I can use to help 1 billion people. And when they realized that I am not doing this to make money, that I have genuine desire to help people, they gave me the exclusive license to do so. Coming fast forward now, today we have done 100,000 people who have taken the gut test. We are able to find out not only what's happening inside their gut, we can tell them exactly what food they should be eating and why, what food they should be avoiding and why. But that's not what I'm here to tell you talking about the product. What's amazing is by using the math and chemistry, which is biochemical activities in your gut, we are able to predict before you get obesity, diabetes, depression, IBS. These 4 account for 50% of all chronic diseases. What is very interesting is, anecdotally, we are hearing from people that autoimmune diseases disappearing. People are telling us they're losing weight, their diabetes is going down, the blood pressure is coming down, people's acne is gone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, anecdotes make a great story, but they don't make a good science. So we are now doing 15 clinical trials with Mayo, with Kaiser Permanente, United Healthcare, Advent Health, for metabolic diseases to clearly show how we can reduce obesity, diabetes, heart diseases, high blood pressure, pancreatic cancer, oral cancer, colorectal cancer. My dad passed away from pancreatic cancer 6 months ago, and I knew it comes from the gut. We had the research in my hand that shows how pancreatic cancer is caused by the gut microbiome using the bile duct to go to pancreas, shut the immune system down, allow the cancer to grow. I went to the doctor and said, doctor, all I want you to do is inject the antimicrobial in the pancreas to kill these microbes. He said, that is not how we do it. That's not the process. And I saw him die. And I promised him that I can't save him, but I'm going to dedicate my life to saving everyone else. And that's what I'm here. When you have a mission that can help 1 billion people, there's nothing that's going to get in your way to solve that problem. And we are at the cusp of solving that problem. There is going to be a day in next 5 to 10 years where it is going to be our children asking us, Dad, in your time, people used to have these Alzheimer and Parkinson's and depression and anxiety, and you didn't know what to do about it? They're going to be having different set of problems, not these. They're going to be talking about, Dad, why do we still talk to each other? You mean you don't just communicate your thought through the brain-to-brain interface? You mean people go to the class to learn and they go to Singularity University? You don't just pay them and upload their brain directly to your brain? And all that will happen. One day you'll be able to take Peter's brain, download it, and then you subscribe to it as he's learning something new. You get upgrade. So that'll be a subscription service to Peter's brain. But then you still will need some.
Thanks.
So my point is, we will never run out of problems to solve. All I'm trying to say is that your job is to constantly looking at the next big problem. And if we can all come together to help me solve the chronic diseases, I promise you that I'm going to go out and fix the education next, create the abundance of food using the agriculture, a good way of getting agriculture to use microbiome so they don't use pesticides. So let's all come together and let's make a promise to ourselves. We're going to solve a problem that is going to help 1 billion people. So if anyone of you who wants to join me, stand up and say, yeah. Come on. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you, guys.
All right. Naveen Jain. Thank you, my friend. Amazing. So one of the great things about SU, there are people like Naveen, and as you'll see down in the expo, we have all sorts of amazing companies and entrepreneurs that are just kind of beginning their journey, but are going after truly, truly moonshot opportunities that have the potential to change the world.
And by the way, Wyoming is up in the expo booth. If you want to come learn more, come see me there.
Oh, I didn't know you had a new company. That's amazing. No, said sarcastically. So we're thanks, Amy. Welcome. Thanks.
So good to see you. Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Nelson, and I am the CEO and founder of a startup called The Riveter. I know that I get a little low energy when I'm sitting in rooms like this, so if you want to stand up for a second and take a break. Anyone? I might be a little low energy. I don't know what you did with your summer vacation, but I made a human. I have a 2-month-old. She's actually backstage. She's traveling with me, which is really amazing. The Riveter is a modern-day union for working women. You might wonder what a founder like me, who has a startup rooted in brick and mortar and the ideas of meeting halls and events and programming, is doing here at Singularity University, talking about the exponential future of work and technology. We think about all of the ways work has changed over the past 10 years and how it will continue to change. And so what is someone who's thinking about retail spaces and physical spaces doing here? I'll explain to you why, because it actually makes very good sense. Work has changed so much in the past 10 years. It looks different today than we could have envisioned in 2009. And we have no idea what it will look like in 2029. But what if I told you that there was a workforce, if there was a workforce that could prove to guide us into an incredible future of work? What if this workforce had shown you that they could physically withstand physical feats akin to the Tour de France or 100-mile ultramarathons, many of them multiple times? What if I told you there was a workforce standing outside the door whose presence in the workforce was scientifically shown to benefit the next generation of workers, which are truly the future? It benefits them socially, economically. What if I told you that this workforce had the energy that they could use it in a ruthlessly efficient manner, more than over half the population? And what if I told you that the presence of this workforce in the C-suite was shown to directly correlate to better bottom lines and profitability at your company? Would you hire this workforce? The fact of the matter is you probably already have. This workforce is working mothers. It is me. I am the mother of 4 daughters. My oldest turned 5 last week, so yes, I'm also crazy. My children are 5, 3, 2, and 2 months. My story is just one of millions of women who populate our workforce and enter every office and every boardroom. I was a corporate litigator for a decade. I worked on Wall Street and represented dozens of Fortune 500 companies in high-stakes litigation. During that time, I had 2 daughters. And because I like to make things hard, around the time I got pregnant with my 3rd daughter, I thought, why are women where they are in the workplace, and how could we change it? And that inspired me to start The Riveter. That was 26 months ago. In that time, I've had 2 more daughters. I'm going to stop now, don't worry. I've also raised $21 million. I've hired 80 people to join my team. I have opened Riveters in 7 cities and 6 states. We have welcomed thousands of members, and we have welcomed luminaries like Sheryl Sandberg, Howard Schultz, Maria Shriver, Ijeoma Oluo, and more to our spaces. But again, I am just one of millions of women who can provide all of this value to you. The truth is that working women are superheroes, and that it is an absolute power in entrepreneurship in the workplace. I love this tweet when I was reading an article recently about women and our strength and pregnancy. And someone wrote, "Scientific research concludes that pregnancy outstrips any other endurance sport. No shit," said women everywhere. We've accomplished so much in the past 2 years, and we're continuing to grow. You may wonder, though, I do all the time, why is motherhood still treated like a distressed asset in the American workplace? It is as if people think mothers cannot at once be leaders and parents, yet they don't think the same of fathers. If you don't believe me, I can run through some of the stats. Mothers make 69 cents to a man's dollar, which is a worse pay gap than the pay gap for women who don't have kids. And in fact, if you looked at the resumes of 2 women, one who had a child and one who did not, the stats would astound you at the difference in the way they are treated. Women with children are 79% less likely to be hired than women without children. Women with children are offered $11,000 less for the same job as women without children. And women with children are 100% less likely to be promoted than women without children. Now, you may be wondering, how does this impact you? It's pretty easy. Again, if everyone who could stand, please do so. We'll do a little exercise in math, which is fun. So, would everybody remain standing who has a mother? That's great, everyone's standing, because science hasn't yet solved that one. Would everyone who works with a woman remain standing? Again, we are all still standing. Look at how important it is how we think about women in our strengths in the workplace. Now, some of you may sit down. Who among you is married to a woman? Please remain standing. That is a lot of you that are still standing. And here's something to think about if you're married to a woman. If you are in a marriage and you're a man married to a woman and that woman works, if that woman is impacted by the wage gap, so are you. The bottom line in your home is impacted by the fact that she isn't making a fair wage. So the wage gap is not just a woman's issue, it's an everyone issue. Thank you. Now, I could go on for quite some time about the depressing stats, but I'll stop. If you want to continue, you can just Google, like, why do employers not like mothers? But I'm assure you there are also hopeful and positive things that we can think about as we move into the future of work. I tend to think the way that mothers are viewed in the workplace as something where we can see nothing but an upshot and something that we can take advantage of as we move into this enormous and exciting future of work. So the solutions that I would propose are actually not all that complicated, and they're things that we talk about at the Riveter a lot. The first one is about parental leave. It's really interesting. If you look at countries where they have mandated maternity leave, we don't actually see an uptick in outcomes for women in leadership at work. But we do see an uptick in outcomes for women in leadership at work with countries with mandated paternity leave. The takeaway here is that we do need to provide resources and time and money for parents to take care of their children. However, we can't put that burden squarely on women. We must put it everywhere. So think about paternity leave at your company as a possibility for something you could think about as you continue to grow and move into the future. The second solution is to lean into the new way we work. Provide your employees flexibility. This may seem like a tired sentiment, but it's interesting to think about it in terms of how you can bring and promote and lean on mothers in the workplace through flexibility. There are things you can do to provide different hours, work remotely. There are a million different technologies that allow us to do this. There's Adobe, there's Toggle, there's Box. None of them are sponsoring me or paying me. They're just things that I use as someone who sometimes works remotely. The thing is, with working remotely, there are so much better outcomes for all of your employees and, again, for your bottom line. We know that there's less employee sick leave, there's better retention, and all of these things play so squarely into the profitability of your company and your ability to grow and scale the way that you want to. All of these things are related. The final fix that I like to think about in leaning into the superpower of mothers at work is the unbundling of jobs. As we know, one of the exciting things that we're seeing as we move into the future is that jobs are becoming less and less tied to the old benefits and 9 to 5 of yesterday. We're moving into a different world where people take on different gigs, where they can do many things at once, and where they can be flexible with their time. We know that 43% of mothers still leave with college degrees, still leave the workforce after they have kids. If you could solve that problem, you would change the American GDP. And I think that's something worth solving for. So when we think about the future and the unbundling of jobs, think about how you can tap into the skills of women who might have left the workforce because they couldn't find a place in it when they had kids, but who might be absolutely ready to come back. These are lawyers, these are doctors, these are everything in between, and there's something so important to that. It's interesting to come to a place like this and speak to all of you about something that is so rooted in kind of the block and tackle and not necessarily connected to technology. But the thing is, there are some things that technology can't fix for us and won't be able to. We know that no algorithm can fix bias in the American workplace. It's rooted too deeply. And we know that policy won't change it either. We've tried. So it truly is up to you and up to me to do this work and to do it together and to do it for everyone. I named my company The Riveter because I wanted to think back and hearken to a time of really strong, powerful, and incredible women. During World War II, American women answered the call from the government to go to the factories, to build the machines of war, to be there when the men couldn't be. And the thing is that women will always answer the call, if only we ask. So I encourage all of you to tap into the superpower that is motherhood and work. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Paula? Welcome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys feeling? Exponential? Not yet? Okay. So I hope you understand how lucky you are to be here. Singularity University changed my life 8 years ago. I've started building things that I had never dreamt of, and I hope you feel compelled to do the same when you leave on the third day here. April 15th, 1986. A baby girl is born in a private hospital in the Dominican Republic. That same day, in that same country, 31 babies died. 28 babies died in a public hospital. May 5th, 1986, the baby gets registered and she gets a birth certificate. So that means she will have access to, first of all, she has a name. She has an identity, she's a person, and she will have access to education, and to Social Security.